Good morning, OSSI team. This is Shauna Young, Interim State Superintendent. We will get started in just one moment. We'll give people a couple of minutes just to join. We'll get started in just a minute. All right, good morning, OSSI team. Thank you for joining me in this February all hands meeting. Before we move further into today's meeting, I'd like to take a moment to share some very sad news. Over the last few weeks, we had an OSSI staff member pass away, Martina Thornton, who was part of the CIO team. Please join me for a moment of silence as we appreciate her service and honor her memory. Thank you. This has been a really tough year in many ways, and it's so sad to have to make these announcements so many more times. Particularly the sadness in the losses that we've felt as a team. As a reminder, for those of you who have experienced a loss and for anyone who needs support, we have many services, including confidential counseling available through our Employee Assistance Program. We will drop the link in the chat and we encourage you to reach out to seek support. We will now go over the agenda for the meeting today. We have a packed agenda of really important updates. We'll be celebrating the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Working Group. We'll talk about and get an update on our career and technical education program. We will talk about the district's COVID-19 vaccine rollout for educational stakeholders. We will review our planning for our future return to work, provide some HR updates, talk about OSSI's 2020 annual report, and then have time at the end for open forum for questions. As many of you remember, in 2019, OSSI announced that we would begin meaningful work around diversity, equity, and inclusion. This slide shows the framework that we presented in 2019 for OSSI's developing DEI efforts. It was created using feedback from all of you from the survey. Since starting this work, we've been able to deliver as an organization on many of our initial DEI goals, including evaluating our diversity pipelines, hosting a successful mentoring program, and evaluating and receiving recommendations on DEI training. The culture pillar is where we decided to focus our working group's efforts. And one of our goals was to establish the working group and start moving the needle in that area. The goals were met with our inaugural cohort and the stellar work that was done over their tenure. So we'll share an update on that group today. Here are some of the events that the team produced. I'll say here, the events weren't the only thing the working group accomplished. The team spent hours in collaborative and crucial conversations discussing DEI and what it means to OSSI and the DC community. They made several attempts at defining and decoding what diversity means in and out of our agency. The events listed here are some products of those discussions. They were open to all OSSI staffers and were live and when we were in person and migrated to virtual during our teleworking posture. These events are important for several reasons. They're the result of collective work and efforts. They allowed for discussion and connection among staffers. The goal was to expand awareness and share perspectives of groups that might be different in than how you may identify. And they helped us connect to our community. I'll also point out that our cultural survey results in the area of diversity improved in 2020, and we believe that it's because of the working group's efforts to engage staff in meaningful ways that contributed to that outcome. These are just some of the lessons learned as we navigated this inaugural cohort. We're grateful that our team was willing to invest their time and energy into the process. And even when it wasn't easy, the team continually shared their passion and for making OSSE better. We're using this and additional feedback from the working group to identify ways to improve a path forward for the next cohort. The inaugural cohort began with ambitious goals and quickly learned that DEI work is continual and always a work in progress. It requires a lot of collaboration and a fair assessment of time and resources to properly execute. The team also learned that challenges and disagreements may come up. We learned that a strong team can work through these challenges, and they did. And we had feedback about the engagement with leadership in how to direct this work and these efforts. So I've talked about how this group was set up, and I wanted to acknowledge the inaugural members of the DEI working group by name. We listed here the inaugural work group members. A couple of these folks are no longer with OSSE, but we wanted to really remember to acknowledge everyone's effort throughout the process. So I'd like to recognize Shannon, Rochelle, Teresita, Olga, Rose, Mark, Petrilli, Cabrillan, Precious, Melanie, Ben, Alan, Nagish, Elsa, Derek, Tiffany, and Tamara. Thank you to all of you for your important work and your determination in working through the DEI working group. Finally, we're winding down the work with the current group as their term was slated to last about 12 to 15 months. The current participants in the group have graciously shared recommendations for the next iteration, which will be reviewed by the leadership and talent teams. In the coming months, we'll have a new application process, and another group of OSSE staffers will have the opportunity to join the working group, and we will continue to build on the successes and the lessons learned and feedback from the group as we move forward. So thank you again to all the participants, and we look forward to continuing our updates in this important area of work moving forward. Next on our agenda, we will talk about career and technical education. As you know, February is National Career and Technical Education Month. Our Division of Post-Secondary and Career Education has done some amazing work over the past year to stay engaged with students and families, including adapting spaces and procedures in the GED Testing Center to safely serve students in person, extending tag application to accommodate college-bound students. And we're excited here today to hear some more updates on the career and technical education specifically. I'm excited to welcome Kylan Boardman-Schroyer, Deputy Assistant Superintendent of Post-Secondary and Career Education, Richard Kincaid, State Director of the Career Technical Education, and Simone Garcia, Director of Industry Engagement, to give an update on our DC Career and Technical Education programming.
Great, thanks so much, Shauna. We appreciate the opportunity, and we are excited to be able to share a little bit of information around what's going on in the CTE space. Before I hand it over to Richard and Simone, who are actually going to lead the discussion, I just wanted to give a quick bit of contextual sort of orientation to how we support the CTE work within our division. Pardon me. In the past, previously, we had a program division focused in on our Perkins funded, that's our federally funded CTE offerings. And then we had the CTE Innovation Fund, which was a separate locally funded stream that allowed Simone Garcia to support DC Career Academies, which are specific CTE model programs that focus in on cohorting students within the CTE classes as well as the non-CTE classes and emphasize industry engagement and work-based learning. This fiscal year, we shifted that and have brought all of the program administration, grant administration of local funds and federal funds under the CTE team, which is under the leadership of Richard Kincaid. And we asked Simone to step out and take a lead on all of our industry engagement based on her incredible success previously with engaging industry and strengthening work-based learning opportunities for all of our CTE students, not just those who are lucky enough to be in the DC Career Academy network. So with that little backdrop, I'm going to push off to Richard to talk a little bit about what's going on in the general programmatic space. and then he'll pivot and hand off to Simone, who will give more information around what we're doing around industry engagement and work-based learning.
Awesome. Thank you, Kylan. Appreciate everybody being here today to learn a little bit more about our amazing CTE programs in the District of Columbia. First and foremost, one of the exciting things that is happening at the current time is February is CTE month. And so this is a month every year when we get to showcase all of the amazing work that's happening across the country. And this year, being able to share out some very specific successes that are happening in the District of Columbia. So I invite everybody, if you use Twitter, to follow us at CareerTech so that you can see some of the really great things that are happening. I want to first begin by kind of giving just a very brief overview of what CTE is, just to kind of calibrate understanding. Back when I was in school, we called CTE programs vocational education. And over the course of time, this has really morphed into a formalized structure that then leads students into post-secondary education or workforce. And we do that by creating a sequence of courses very similar to how you might see math or science build upon one another. Our CTE programs build in depth and complexity as well. In the District of Columbia, we offer 16 different career clusters, and we organize these based on the type of industry that we're preparing students for. So everything from information technology, where our students are earning Cisco networking certifications, or transportation and logistics, where our students are able to earn their ASC certifications to go and work in automobile shops, health science, where we're preparing students to go into the medical and nursing professions. And of course, our largest career cluster in DC, STEM, which includes things like civil engineering and architecture and digital computer design, among other things. And so we have a broad array of different programs that we offer. Within these career clusters, it gets even more nuanced, though. We call them programs of study. And within a program of study, we're using transportation and logistics, or automotive program, as the example here. This is the sort of course sequence that our students would follow across the city. And this is new for us. We implemented these sorts of programs of study only 2 years ago, so that we would have very specific measurable outcomes after a student completes their CTE program. Along the way, they pick up industry recognized credentials, they pick up college credit, they have the opportunity to participate in work-based learning experiences. And so this is an entire program with wraparound services that really prepares our students for what's next in the world of work, but also to help connect them directly to 2-year and 4-year graduate college programs, post-secondary programs, and beyond. One thing that I want to highlight is, because we've been able to put these sorts of structures in place at the high school level, many of our students are now having the opportunity to earn college credit for the courses that they're taking in high school. And so the type of credit that we provide currently is called articulated credit. So a student takes a high school class, they earn credit in a similar college course through University of District of Columbia's community college. And so UDC-CC is a partner with us on these sorts of programs. And in some of our programs, beginning in fall of 2021, students will be able to earn up to 4 college credits per CTE course that they take, which means in some of our courses, some of our programs, students are actually graduating high school with potentially 16 to 20 credits, not elective credits, but major credits with advanced standing at the community college, which is really phenomenal. So starting in fall of 2021, 27 courses in DC will offer this sort of credit. A couple of highlights that I want to share with you. First and foremost, a shout out to my CTE team. All of this work is because of them. Many of you know the CTE team: Tiffany DeJesus, Kim Freeland, Joseph Green, Tanya McCall Whitaker, and Candace Mott. And through our collective work, this year we've seen a 27% increase in the number of students who are taking at least one CTE class. And so the thinking around this is if you can take one class, hopefully you'll get really excited to be able to then follow a program of study. An amazing feat this year: 100% of our CTE concentrators graduated in high school in the 2020 school year, which is the first time that we've hit that mark. And that accounts for about 679 students, which is really incredible. Additionally, on average, those students who graduate as CTE concentrators, 75% of them are enrolled either in college or a job within 6 months of graduation. And we've spent a lot of time this year making sure that all of our programs align with business and industry needs. And now I want to turn it over to Simone to tell you all about our work-based learning programs.
Thank you, Richard. Work-based learning is a set of instructional strategies that engages employers and schools in providing learning experiences for students. The activities are structured opportunities for students to interact with employers or community partners, either at school, at a work site, or virtually, using technology to link students and employers in different locations. The purpose of work-based learning is to build student awareness of potential careers, facilitate student exploration of career opportunities, and begin student preparation for careers. These opportunities are essential components of a successful CTE program of study and have been shown to increase student engagement and motivation and provide benefits not just for students, but for schools and employer partners as well. The work-based learning continuum includes 5 phases. Our network and our industry partners currently focuses on 3: awareness through preparation. However, career introduction or pre-CTE begins in the early phases of a student's matriculation and continues through middle school with activities such as Career Day. Career awareness activities help students learn about a variety of careers, the education and training required, and the typical pathways for career entry and advancement. Examples are workplace tours and guest speakers. Career exploration activities help students learn about the skills needed for specific careers by observing and interacting with employees in the workplace. Examples are informational interviews, job shadow, and program-specific workplace tours. Career preparation activities integrate career and academic skills acquired in the classroom and workplace to build employability and work readiness skills, as well as an understanding of school-based learning to specific careers. Many students use these activities to inform their decision-making about future education and training options. An example of career preparation would be a paid or unpaid internship. Lastly, advanced career preparation is an apprenticeship. Apprenticeships include a structured training plan with a focus on mastering specific skills an employer needs to fill an occupation within their organization. The primary goal of our boards is to leverage their network to deliver the most relevant and effective practices in work-based learning. As we seek to accomplish this, there are a few foundational components for our success. We require a quorum of industry partners to assist with the execution of our network's strategic goals to achieve our vision and mission. Our board members must be credible sources of success and have a combined passion and capacity for this work. The crux of our existence is to support and/or enhance work-based learning experiences for our scholars. Lastly, we must have tangible results. So the charge is exposing students to the variety of careers by becoming summer internship host employers and advocating on our behalf by continuously strengthening the network. And that's what our volunteers do. But in addition to that, our board members have the task to attend and actively participate in board meetings, which are held quarterly, and coordinate with OSCE, driving the work-based learning strategy and implementation support for the needs of all CTE programs of study. As evidence of our robust partnerships with school and industry partners, it is important to recognize that the statistics mentioned here occurred during a pandemic. Currently, Washington, D.C. is touted as the leading city to quickly and successfully transition from the traditional in-person internship experience to provide and engage in remote and virtual internships. With the realization that the city would be shut down, we examined our internship process from conducting interviews to student placements and created guidance documents as well as templates for project plans for virtual engagement in every aspect with students. Student interviews were conducted via telephone with LEA chaperones on every call. We also coordinated with other government entities to ensure that there was still a process in place for the necessary background checks for our host employers. During the internship, we utilized online work-based learning platforms such as Nepris and Virtual Job Shadow to supplement students' experiences. This revised internship model has resulted in increased opportunities for students with host employers who are able to engage virtually, but due to security restrictions, could not offer the traditional in-person experience. We have therefore increased our host employer base. Post-pandemic, we intend to offer in-person, hybrid, and virtual internships. Special thanks to our Work-Based Learning Committee, which is co-chaired by DC Public Schools. This committee also seats a representative from each participating school district within our network. We are also grateful to the Department of Employment Services, who provides funding for summer interns, as well as our board members, such as On-Ramps to Careers and American Experience Foundation, who often functions as intermediaries. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much to Kylan, Richard, Simone, and the whole CTE team for your amazing work in making this a meaningful pathway for our students. I think it's so amazing to see when we talk about all the work we've done through the pandemic, the successes that you've been able to achieve. And it's really a testament to our students how successful this was, and even just having 100% host employer return rate is just amazing. So congratulations and thank you so much for sharing this work with us. We will now turn on the agenda to an update on the district's COVID-19 vaccination plan. As many of you know, the district began administering COVID-19 vaccine to district residents. We are currently in phase 1B, tier 3 of the district's vaccination rollout, and in-person school, childcare, and OSSI DOT staff are eligible for the vaccine. Beginning on Monday, March 1st, the district will be moving to phase 1C, tier 1, which includes DC residents with chronic medical conditions. Eligible educational stakeholders will continue to be eligible in that phase, and we encourage them to take advantage of that opportunity. Demand for the vaccine in DC remains much higher than the supply we are receiving from the federal government. Mayor Bowser and DC Health continue to advocate for the federal government to send more vaccines so that we can meet the high demand for it and protect the lives of our residents and our workforce. Given that demand outpaces our current supply, DC Health has had to make difficult decisions about which groups to prioritize. And we are grateful that DC Health and the mayor are prioritizing the district's educational workforce. Dr. Heidi Schumacher, Assistant Superintendent of Health and Wellness at OSSI, will now share an update on the vaccine rollout for our educational stakeholders.
Hi, everyone. Great to be with you all. I have just a few updates and we'll really be building on comments that I made in the last All Hands several weeks ago. So just as a reminder, the basics on the vaccine, there are two types of the COVID vaccine currently on the market in the United States and in use here in the District of Columbia. Those are made by Pfizer and Moderna. Both are very similar vaccines. Both require 2 shots separated by 3 to 4 weeks, and both have had very similar results in the clinical trials. As articulated in this nice graphic from the health department and as discussed in our last All Hands, both vaccines are safe, Both vaccines are effective, 95% effective in limiting severe disease from COVID. Both are free and side effects are minimal. We can move to the next slide. I'm going to spend just a minute talking about eligibility now and logistics for our educational stakeholders. So to date, our criteria have been really focused on staff working in person or those with a return to work assignment in person in the month of February at an OSSI DOT terminal or a school or childcare facility serving students in person. So as Interim Superintendent Young said a minute ago, we have really had to be quite strict in our eligibility because there is such limited vaccine. Within Phase 1B Tier 2 has been included public charter and independent schools, as well as our OSSI DOT team working in person and childcare providers working in person. Folks who are working in institutions of higher education will come in a subsequent phase. And I'll just say in this, as I mentioned in the last all hands, Phase 1B Tier 2 is the first phase after healthcare workers, fire and EMS, and senior citizens, and reflects just a remarkable prioritization by the mayor that has been praised across the country of the educational sector and really getting vaccines into the arms of those folks serving our young people as a top priority. This phase also includes MPD, grocery store workers, correctional facility folks, and this priority group alone has more than 45,000 people in it, with a supply chain of only a few thousand doses per week. So as Shauna mentioned a minute ago, DC Health has had to make and continues to make difficult decisions and is phasing out our rollout to educational partners and others in this phase now and over the coming months. So in the next slide, the current state of vaccine implementation for about the last month, our school, childcare, and OSSI DOT staff have had access to dedicated vaccine appointments through Children's National and One Medical. And if we can move forward, I'm very pleased to say that we have vaccinated 9,500 stakeholders in the educational community to date with the COVID-19 vaccine. This is remarkable. Many of those folks in the last week, including some of our OSSI DOT partners, have just received their second dose too, which is really exciting. We will be communicating in the coming days some updates to eligibility and logistics for this community, but it's really been a joy, and actually we can move to the next slide, to partner with so many of you across the agency and so many of our partners across the city, including here, this beautiful picture from several weeks ago, leadership and staff from our OSSI DOT and health and wellness teams volunteering all day at a vaccination day at Dunbar High School to really make sure that we can get our folks vaccinated as quickly as possible and as soon in the eligibility period as possible. So with that, I will turn it back to Interim Superintendent Young.
Thank you, Heidi. We will talk more about the vaccine in future all hands meetings, but I can share that while the vaccine is not mandatory for district employees, demand for the vaccine is high, and all DC residents and workers are encouraged to take the vaccine at the first opportunity when you become eligible. With nationwide scarcity, you don't know when you'll get your next chance. The vaccine is safe, effective, and our path out of this pandemic, and getting vaccinated will protect you, your friends and family, and our entire community. And we will continue to try and make resources available for folks who have questions or hesitancy to help inform you and provide information that can help provide that information to you and or to your families and constituents. So we're grateful to be able to provide these updates to you as we go, and we'll continue to do that. We will move forward on our agenda to talking with a not particularly update on planning for a future return to work. Mayor Bowser has extended the public health emergency through March, and it will likely continue thereafter. The city remains in phase 2. OSSI remains in a more remote posture, as you know, but there are a number of OSSI staff that currently do report in person and or may be activated to return to their locations on a regular basis. So many of our colleagues are reporting to work in various capacities in OSSI DOT and in OSSI Maine to serve constituents. And these employees have been and will continue to be notified by division leadership if things change. In an effort to help the transition, the talent team has hosted 2 information sessions with Innova, our employee assistance program provider. These calls were recorded and were also sent to all OSSI employees to learn more about childcare, elder care, vendor sourcing, etc., and also the traditional supports for counseling if you need people to talk to as part of transition to work or just as part of ongoing mental health supports. We're aware that many staff have personal items in the office that you may wish to pick up. Please email Alicia Denmark at the email on the slide, and potentially we will drop that in the chat for pickup requests. And just a reminder that the pickup process is for items that may make work from home a little easier, or that were your personal belongings that were left behind. We are not able to release OSSI technology and equipment to take home. So we're not allowed to send home monitors, mice, computer cables, etc. But we do want to make it possible for you to pick up things that may have been left behind on your desk. Just a couple of quick HR announcements. There are upcoming required trainings. These trainings are required for our agency. You've already received information about Vision Zero and cybersecurity. These sessions were due in December and January. If you haven't completed them, please make an effort to get these done ASAP, and we'll be following up with folks who have not yet done so. We will be sharing more information about the data privacy and anti-sexual harassment training in the coming days. Those are also both mandatory. And our DOT and training teams will be working collaboratively to make sure that sessions are delivered for those who don't have access to computers. Finally, as you know from our email last week and in our OSSI Wire earlier this week, we announced OSSI's 2020 annual report that has come out. In a year unlike any other, you all quickly adapted and faced the challenges head on so that we could continue to provide high-level service and supports in ways that we've never done before. The 2020 annual report captures some of the many remarkable ways that all of us served students, families, and educators last year, and I'm extremely proud of the work we were able to do as an agency and that we are able to share now with the public in this report. From delivering needed resources and information to finding new ways to collaborate across divisions and agencies, the OSSI team adapted to new terrain, reimagined program delivery, and came together to serve constituents all under unprecedented circumstances. We'll share the link to the report in the chat and in the follow-up materials after the meeting, but I encourage you to check it out and sincerely thank each and every one of you for making this work happen. Please feel free to send it to your constituencies, to your mom to show her the work that you've been hard at work at all year, and or just share with colleagues the collection of work that we've accomplished together. We'll now have some time for open forum. I'd like to stop and give people a chance to ask questions about any of the content that we've covered today. Drop questions that you have in the chat and we will do our best to get to as many as possible.
Great, and hi everybody, this is Lead Alicani, Director of Communications. I'm here to read off the questions. One of the first questions we have is for our CTE folks. The question is CTE programs. What high schools participate in this program? I'm not sure if Richard or Kyle would be the best person to answer that question.
I'm gonna have
Richard. Kylan, sorry.
No worries. Richard, can you jump in and give the list?
Hi there. Yeah, so we offer CTE programs at 27 different high schools. I'll invite you to reach out to the CTE team for the specific list. But soon you'll also be able to find that information at careertechdc.org, which is our website, which we hope to launch in the next couple of months, which will detail that sort of information. Our biggest LEA, of course, is DCPS, but we also work with IDEA Public Charter School, DC International, KIPP, Friendship Public Charter, and Maya Angelou Public Charter.
Great, thank you. And our next question is related to vaccines. Heidi, I see that you chatted back to this person, but I'm going to go ahead and ask this question. I've been trying to get an appointment and have been unsuccessful. I will be returning to work soon. I'm a school bus operator. When and where can I receive the vaccine?
Yeah, this is a great question. Thank you, Jerome, for asking it. So folks who have returned in person, who are currently working in person or are coming back in person in the month of February, will have received an individualized email with detailed information on how to sign up for an appointment. That's relevant for our OSSI-DOT team, as well as school and childcare staff in the community. Folks who are coming back in March and beyond, stay tuned because more information will be coming to you directly as soon as it is available. And if folks have questions, Gretchen or others should jump in if there are additional names, maybe we can put that into the chat, but I'd encourage folks to follow up with your supervisor.
Great, thank you, Heidi. And our next question will be for Shauna. Is it possible to have more detail regarding the OSSI employees that may be asked to return to the office?
Right now, thanks for that question. Right now, any OSSI employees who are required have been notified and are attending. So there is no larger plan as of right now across the city for bringing back groups of staff in general across the district. We are in a pause position across the district in bringing staff back to buildings, but that may be, you know, individual staff with individual responsibilities may be recalled back by their supervisors as those specific job requirements change. But there is no broader